Hey, Nick, we need a tagline for the podcast.
No.
Real life opinions. Movie reviews told by fans and not critics.
What genre is it?
Okay, guys, we're back on this wonderful November 12th. Let's take it to the edge of the couch there, Mike. How we doing?
Well, you always do me first.
Well, that's because you're the furthest away.
Oh, so is that what? So if I sit next
Okay,
to you next
yeah,
time,
we're not
I'm
doing
good?
my... Corey, how are you doing?
Hi, Jeff.
Oh,
How are things? How's the family?
Oh, delightful.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing terrific. Laura, how are you doing?
insulted.
Oh, because I picked Corey before
Because
you?
you skipped. I'm next to Mike.
You're in the middle.
No, you're in the
you
middle.
don't count. You're like
I
a
felt
little
he was
child.
just being sexist, but that's just me.
It's my white supremacy coming through,
I'm
okay?
still
You
taller
are-
than
You
you.
racist piece
I'm
of shit.
a racist. I'm a racist.
I'm whiter than you, for Christ's sake.
Exactly. I'm afraid that your white supremacy over top of me is going to.
I just give me a potato, I'm good.
I guess Mike's at the edge.
Mike.
Oh, hey! Good to be here. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah.
Still skip me.
Oh, did we skip you again?
No.
Oh.
Okay. So, Laura, what are we doing today?
Okay, he just told me yesterday, so in all fairness, I'm out of the loop.
No, I told you on Wednesday.
No, you told me yesterday because I wasn't there on Wednesday.
Oh yeah, I meant to tell you on Wednesday, and then yesterday I saw you and I was just like, oh hey, by the way, this is what we're doing.
So apparently we're doing what genre is it?
What genre is that?
I don't know, pick one. Pick a
Oh
movie.
wow, let's get.
Oh, hey, can
So-
anybody list all the genres? The core genres. We're not.
Are
mixing
we
this
gonna-
up.
we're not gonna get into
Comedy,
subgenres?
Romance,
Drama.
drama,
That's it.
sci-fi. No, sci-fi.
Sci-fi
is
is kind of a subgenre in a sense.
Sci-fi
Loosely
and
speaking.
fantasy. They're
Yeah.
different. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sci-fi, fantasy, kind of the same.
No.
No,
No.
No,
guess
because
not.
Lord of the Rings is not a sci-fi.
it's a fantasy.
Yes, it's
This
fantasy.
is true. This is true.
Conan is totally fantasy.
Yeah.
So.
But he is a time traveler.
It's-
Okay, from a certain point.
So that one.
Wait, oh, so
Okay.
He-Man and the Master of the Universe?
What about Highlander then?
Ah, see, it's aliens.
Now that's
But-
what we're here
No,
for.
no, no.
Yeah.
That is where we
Sci-fi
get into.
fantasy.
That is where we get into multiple genres.
Hey, how about this, guys? We'll stick to 3 movies, or
Oh, now I don't get it back.
well, do you want to pick, Laura?
I already
Why
got
do you
one.
keep
She's
excluding
got
her?
one. She's got one.
I've
We're good.
got one.
We're good.
You've got one now.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna do 4 movies this time. Okay, we're just gonna stick to our 4 movies, and then next time we do this, we'll have a completely new set of movies.
Yeah,
How
this
does
is
that
gonna be this is gonna be an ongoing theme. I think it's really, really fun. I think it brings out a lot of us, like, get to get our opinions out, and I mean, God knows that's what this whole thing's all about. So
If it gets dicey, I'm sorry. I blame them. I'm just.
What I like,
I
I'm
blame
the
the rum.
ringmaster.
what I like about this, and it's kind of nitpicking into the world of how we can combine things and how they work well together and how they don't. I like the theology of theater, of storytelling, of drama. So I'm really excited to figure out what worked and what didn't, depending on whatever it is, and we'll delve into that. I'm a theater storytelling nerd. That's where I would be declassified as.
I love storytelling in movies, but I could not write more than a sentence of a script. So,
Well, writing
Oh.
and storytelling is. I can tell somebody's story. You give me time to understand it and to
oh yeah,
learn it.
no, I
I
can
can
write.
brilliantly tell a story, but to write one, that's a craft.
I am an English major in my own right, so if someone was to tell me a story, I could
I'm
write
an
it.
English private.
Yeah, I could write it, I could edit it, I could everything. But to come up with a shred of my own idea, not happening.
Sorry, Corey. I'm stopping you for a second. What is an English private?
Well, if he's a major, I'm certainly not anything. I'm way down there to a private. I
Where-
barely know
I
grammar.
figured
Were you
that's where
going
you're
to
going
a
with that,
dirty? Laura went to the dirty area.
Jeffrey got it.
My mind just went.
I feel, and
I'm
I
the
should warn
one
now
that
because I was thinking about my my part in this earlier today, and the movie I'll be quoting has a lot of swearing. So let's just start the podcast by saying there will be swearing in this one. So be prepared.
Have we done a podcast where you guys don't swear?
Well,
we try to keep it down.
Shrek. We did not.
Oh, I'm
swear
sure we
during
swore in Shrek.
No,
so-
no, no. Oh no, wait, we did
Yeah.
because I called you sexist. And then there was a few.
But that's
other
not a
things.
swear word. Did we refer to Farquaad as fuckwad?
Yes.
I think that's what I mean. So
Oh,
because Farquaad is
I just kept getting in shit for the sexist stuff. So.
you know what? Got to move past that. I
Anyway.
feel bad for bringing it up in hindsight, but
That's right. Moving on. So, who are we starting with?
okay, I'll start. I guess since I kind of got the ball rolling on this.
Let's hear what you have to say.
In my opinion, Jurassic Park is essentially a horror film wrapped up in an action adventure. Now, I know what Laura's going to say already. No, it's not. No, it's not. But I do believe that movie and that story was constructed as a science fiction thriller horror. So when science goes wrong is the whole premise of that movie, right?
So you're three genre mix there.
But here's what I'm saying. So I'm saying it's in the horror genre, okay?
No.
It's primary.
That's like saying The Lost World is a horror movie.
Which Lost World?
Like Jurassic Park: The Lost World?
Yes.
So.
Yeah, see, there's more action in that one than there is horror thriller moments.
I do thoroughly remember the dinosaur stomping and trying to eat people.
And he ate the dog.
So can I if I can
Yeah.
interject? So we're going to allow movies to be more than one genre, right?
Yes.
Are we
you
allowed?
have to in
You
this
have
day
to,
and
yeah,
age.
you totally
Yeah. So,
That said, our movies so far are all from the 90s, so.
but
Not mine.
Yeah, that's true.
that movie is if you break it down, a lot of the beats and everything like that, like something goes wrong. The beginning of the movie, there's this mysterious horror scene where something gets eaten alive, and it's okay.
You can't raise your hand on a podcast.
Well, I
I'm pretty
wanted
sure
to wait till you're done your sentence and your topic, but I did have a question.
Okay, what's your question?
What do you call a beat?
Well,
And just to help them out, and
So are you talking like the tempo of the movie, how it's progressing
Yeah.
along?
how do you
Well-
define that?
how the beats of the movie. Oh God! Now you're gonna make me define stuff.
Well, we use words that we don't always necessarily understand what they mean. So this helps us understand you.
Because if you're talking like the tempo of the movie, you're saying beat, we would refer to it as a tempo.
That's true.
well,
Pacing.
with
You know?
tempo to me is different than the beats of a movie. But like, so generally, if you're in a science fiction beat, or not a science, watch my wording today. If you're in a horror movie beat, you're introduced to something mysterious, and then you're kind of alluded to that mystery a little bit later. That's kind of horrific, and then you get to meet your characters, right? Generally in a horror movie, right? You go into it. You've got this little mini mystery going on to there. That's kind of scary, but you're not quite sure what it is yet. And as it gets darker and darker, these terrifying things are slowly revealed to you. And then at the end of it, like everyone's running and scared and everything like that of this terrifying thing that was mysterious at the beginning of the movie. And a lot of them are almost fully explained. Not all of them, but like this mysterious, strong force that has terrorized them in the movie is either finally at the end beaten, or depending on how the story is written, like
Okay,
it can be open-ended.
so I'm going to take you back to Jurassic Park, then, and I'm going to throw another one in there for you. Because you're saying Jurassic Park is a horror movie. Based on your analogy there, it's a sci-fi fantasy.
Well, how's that fantasy?
No. Oh, wait.
It is fantastic.
Hobbit. The Hobbit. Any of the Lord of the Rings franchise, based on your analogy of how there's something frightening there and then they face it at the end, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit is a horror movie.
Well,
So
so it depends on how scary it is.
I mean, Sauron was something else.
Sorry,
Get-
the dragon?
Almost any movie follows essentially that plot, but it's the degree on how scary it is. And there is a cartoon version of Lord of the Rings that
I know,
is
I own them.
pretty horrific.
I own them.
Like, you could argue those
Of
are
course you did.
So, okay, so just to jump back there, your beats are you're referring to the plot points in which things happen and evolve.
Yeah,
and grow.
basically.
Okay,
Okay.
so just so
Would that not be beats of a story?
me,
to
No,
you?
that's the plot.
well to me a beat is an emotional resolution or a response to an event. So we go along, and a joke, and we laugh, and that's a beat. The beat that your response to that. That's how I define a beat. You have
So-
sad moments.
So in my definition of that, not to cut you off, but like the beat would be being scared in those moments, right?
that
The scared beats.
the timing of that beat, that how many beats you have, like how many times do you get scared in a horror movie? How many jump scares in a row? The beats were bad because there was too many. That would be a description,
Mhm.
so that I understand. A beat to me is an emotional response that's been built up to. That's your beat, and that ties into tempo, and it ties into all this stuff. Comedies are set up, joke, hammer a punchline, and that's what I would call it. So it's kind of a plot arc or a tempo. It all ties in together, but. Okay, that's what I just want to know.
You're making me define stuff here. What the heck?
Well, I want you
Come here
to
for
I want to
school.
understand how you think, so that I don't misinterpret.
I don't want to be learning on a podcast.
Well, you guys are going to
It is
back
Sunday
to
night.
Jurassic Park.
I mean, I'm still on the top end of my rung, so your education will slowly.
Mine's almost gone.
So now that you guys actually helped me here make my point, I do believe. Thank you. So
You're welcome.
from that,
Jeffrey.
thank
Yeah,
you,
we-
Michael.
Did you make your point on the temple or that Jurassic
No,
Park
not
with
the tempo.
Hobbit?
The beats
Okay.
of what.
Yeah.
So by my definition of a horror film, was that I believe there's more than enough scary moments in there that gave you that fright to consider it primarily a horror film.
I actually find, and I mean, going back to jump scares, which is like, unfortunately nowadays, horror's bread and butter. There's only one real jump scare in the movie, and it's not even a horrific scene. And it's the scene where Ellie's in the breaker room, and she sees Samuel L. Jackson's arm, and then all of a sudden it drops out, and it's just his arm. That makes you jump. But nothing else in that movie really made me jump.
There's also I'll bring up the beginning scene again. There is a jump scene where that cage flies away. I consider that a bit of a jump scare. And like, to be a good horror film, you don't necessarily need to rely on that. Like, were you not with the scene where the goat goes missing? Was that not all of a sudden this giant feeling of dread in the audience? Like, it was just like, oh my god, the goat's gone. There's supposed to be this horrific monster here.
I think that because I'm a seasoned horror guy, that didn't even remotely faze me. So that could be just on me. I have no problem saying
No,
that.
that's
I-
highly possible. It's like, highly possible. Because even me, it would be the same thing. But here's the thing with that too. They told you, oh look, we're gonna get a glimpse of the T-Rex. Oh, it's feeding time.
Yeah, you knew something was going to happen. There was no
Well,
surprise.
but you don't. A horror film doesn't always.
Oh, you
Like,
know it's building up.
yeah,
because
you
the
know
music
it's-
changes.
I completely understand your point on that one. It was just like that suspenseful. You expect something to happen, and it's like, oh my god, nothing happened. So there is an element that I agree with that concept.
See, and I actually like some of those ones
Yeah.
better where you're expecting it and then nothing happens. You're disappointed and then it
The
happens.
number one, I don't know, I don't say I was late because they did it in the 90s too, but trope was when they open a door or open a medicine cabinet especially,
Yeah.
and they shut it, and the music
And there was-
peaks,
there
and
was
there's
something
nothing
in the
there.
back.
And there's nothing there.
there. And then they do it again, no music change, and
And there's
Something
nothing
is
there.
there
Yeah.
it is.
Yeah.
Like,
There's so many horror movies that use that trope.
They set it.
and
up.
I'm the kind of jerk, like when Corey was working at the theater, I took my kid to see It Part 2, and I scared the whole damn theater. Because it was fun.
Yeah.
Because you're ahead.
Well, I kept telling him, listen for the change in the music. Something's going to happen. There's a coffin. Something's going to happen. Then
So,
everybody gets
That's
so
like when I went to
enticed.
Eclipse in the theater, and I had the whole audience laughing because I kept insulting it out loud.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Mike?
Well, I was going to say, just to expand on, So you are considering it a horror. So
I'm considering it primarily a horror.
primarily because
I realize there's also an action science fiction element in it. So I wouldn't want to say that it's not those things as well. But I think primarily at its core, it's actually a horror film.
So those are the three that we cannot attach rom-com to it, right? Let's get rid of it. It's not a romantic comedy.
Yeah.
So,
no.
but those three, you cannot really go beyond those. It's a thriller, it's an action, or it's a horror by
Now-
this room.
Okay. If you're going based that way, I would not classify it as a horror.
Could you agree that?
Thriller
Could
is
you agree there's
completely
horror
different.
elements in it?
No, but I will agree that there's thriller elements to it.
So now we got to get down to the nitty gritty.
Michael Jackson.
Right? Yeah.
Why would, say, Scream be considered a horror
That one's a horror comedy.
and not
Oh, I
a
was right
thriller?
on that one.
If this, like, there's more mystical element in Jurassic Park if you think of the science as mystical and unknown.
Oh,
But
Because
then-
right there, based on what you're saying,
And there is such thing as a science fiction horror.
yes, there is. But based on what you're saying, the whole mystical aspect, the whole fantasy aspect, like all of this.
I'm not even saying fantasy. Like
But mystical.
Corey was saying, what does it need to have? Corey, you were
It
saying
needs to have a supernatural
Supernatural.
element, thus
Sup-
not making it a horror.
supernatural was the word I was looking for. Science
Good.
fiction can be classified as supernatural.
Well, fun fact,
Not
I have changed my
theoretically.
pick, so when I get to my pick, thanks to you, Jeff, I've changed my pick.
Oh.
But theoretically, no, science cannot be classified as supernatural.
So I'm trying to think of a good example.
Yeah.
See, Jurassic
Totally
Park
true.
is. I would. Mystic does not belong in a descriptive. I understand where you're trying to find the supernatural, but that is all science. Whether it's wrong science or right science, that is a very science-based movie.
It was a bad call on my part. I was
It's
trying to integrate the supernatural in that because science fiction, I do believe at some degree, because the fiction part of the science can be considered supernatural, and there are definitely science fiction horrors out there.
There is, but
Aliens.
based
Aliens,
on
yeah.
based on the fact that
Jason
you're giving
was-
there, that is no. But based on what you're saying there, Jeff, I would not classify it as a horror movie. Thriller, yes, because it has some, not a lot,
Frightening
some
elements.
frightening elements, but there's no supernatural.
I think it's literally too frightening to not believe it gets to be a thriller. I think
What's the scariest thriller you can describe?
The
Okay, what is a scary thriller?
And the Rock's Cradle.
Yep.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen.
So
Hand
can
Rush
that remotely dip into horror?
No.
Okay. No, and I'm asking because I don't remember it well enough.
I'm a big psychological thriller fan, so
See,
Okay, yeah.
Okay, Silence of the Lambs, psychological thriller.
Totally.
It's not horror, but it's thriller.
yeah.
But we had Hannibal Lecter on our top horror list, and you guys did not
Argue that.
argue that.
That's because thriller and horror can be classified in the same area with different elements.
But our list was specifically a top 5 horror.
But no, it wasn't.
So then you can take back your disagreeing me putting the T-Rex on that list then.
No.
Because you are saying
I will never,
you are saying
I will never agree with you.
I
for
think you
T-Rex
might have
being
lost this
on
one,
there.
Laura, and I'm not on Jeff's side. But I think
Okay,
you might have lost this
I
one.
agree on this battle, not the war.
Not
but
the war.
on this battle, I think you misstepped.
if you think Hannibal Lecter is good enough for the top 5 horror, and because it's a thriller, you can't argue that Jurassic Park
Oh,
is a less scary thriller
no,
than.
Here's my reasoning for Hannibal Lecter.
Before you do that, I will argue that T-Rex is not a villain. He's a hero.
He,
Right.
Define that. So,
That's true.
And I will state this too, okay?
I will concede that in the end, he's a villain turned hero in
But-
the end.
but
The
here's-
hero journey is very, very convoluted there.
But here's this thing on all of that too. Okay, T-Rex, yes, he was real. Yes, he was like God knows how many stories high. Yes, he had sharp teeth, little itty bitty arms. Who gives a shit? Hannibal Lecter, he ate human flesh.
But he also
So
helped
did
him
T-Rex.
catch Wild Bill. So is he not the hero
The
of
only
that story?
reason he helped him catch
Slash the
Wild
Tooth
Bill-
Fairy and Red Dragon. And the Tooth Fairy.
And
was
Yeah.
Rain.
But the only
So-
reason he helped them catch them is so that he could get away.
But not in Red Dragon. It's the same character.
There was empathy towards Hannibal Lecter.
There was a lot of empathy towards
there
him.
was. There was an endearment towards him. But I think we're getting off topic.
What?
No.
Jeff and I can argue.
Oh, I know. It's just like, I think there's other elements eventually.
Oh, there's lots.
Yeah.
Okay.
So shy of being a 4-hour podcast, I think we need to move on.
Yeah, it's your turn. Corey.
Okay. Well, let's take a quick pause here, and we will move. Have I swayed anybody to my side?
No.
No.
Not even remotely that it's a horror? Come on, guys.
I will concede. I completely understand your perspective, which is huge. I don't agree with you, but I understand where you're coming from, and I respect it. Actually,
And I'm willing to give you thriller, but not horror.
Okay. Wheel of morality, round and round. Who picks next? No one knows.
Who's next to
That
you?
didn't rhyme, but okay.
It's an anime maniacs thing.
you should have went to me, and then she could have complained. You skipped me again.
Yeah, let's go with Laura.
Aw.
Let's do that. Hi, Laura. Let's go with Laura.
No, I guess we'll go to Mike instead.
No, too late. You already said me.
I don't want to be in the spotlight. Fuck you, I'm in the spotlight.
That's how this one's working today. So my movie isn't a horror movie. I don't know. I'm going to
Oh, sorry.
Clue.
Clue?
You see,
I played Wadsworth last year.
I
I was so proud of that.
have not seen Clue, so
What?
I will not have.
Okay, so I gotta borrow that one with you. 'Cause, like, Tim Curry is so good in that movie.
Yeah,
Yes.
I mean it was relatively star-studded.
No,
Christopher Lloyd. Yeah.
Before they were,
Martin Mull.
Well, when did Clue come out? That was like mid '80s, right?
85.
85, 86.
85, yeah.
I was 2 years old.
I wasn't even born.
Fair enough.
I was
Fair enough.
like 6, and I still saw it.
Okay, well, I guess I don't get an opinion on this.
So what's your perspective on this?
So, Clue is very basic.
Yeah.
That one is a comedy mystery,
Okay. So
Yeah,
what are we
I-
arguing?
right?
Like, I feel like I feel like I
No.
knew that before you even brought up this movie. Like, yeah, isn't that like a
So,
It's the
Universal
shortest
film?
version ever.
no, Jeff would argue this one. Jeff would actually argue this one if you watched it.
what I?
Yes,
Are you targeting?
I am.
Okay.
That's Jeffist.
That's malicious.
It is malicious.
I feel like this is shortism. Well, that wraps up Laura's section.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
We
Buck
won't talk
50
about
later.
short. We won't talk about short. But the whole premise is on the movie.
Wow, shortism, eh?
Right?
Wow.
No, I thought you were like 2 inches shorter than me.
It's called vertically challenged, if you don't mind.
I've never heard
I
a
thought
short
it was
comment
old
before in my
age.
life.
You just start shrinking as you get older.
I'm gravitationally challenged.
So, Laura, let's hear your argument.
For why
Well, it
would
might
be
not be
targeted
an
at
argument.
you.
It might simply be a discussion. But let's hear
It
it.
might be.
Well, what is it? Isn't it universally known as like a?
Murder mystery
It's
comedy.
it's. See, when
Look,
you
I-
throw
I-
murder into it, then you can really argue it.
Well, I mean, it's Clue.
It is.
If you played Clue, you know the story of Clue.
You do.
And except for the movie, because the multiple endings.
Because of the way the multiple endings and the surprises in it.
Okay.
Which would lead it to Jeff being able to argue that it's got a horror element to it.
Well, just because it's got a horror element, it doesn't necessarily mean that.
I'd say thriller.
Did he not just say for Jurassic Park that?
Well,
I'm pretty sure. Everything I've heard about Clue is pretty cut and dry.
there's
So-
nothing to be horrific about it or horrifying. There was
See?
jump scares. There was.
But jump scares
Was
doesn't
there
make
jump
it.
scares
There
there?
was.
Jump scares,
in a time when you're
jump scares
16
doesn't
or-
necessarily mean that it's a horror movie, though, right?
Really?
No, it doesn't. Like a thriller can have jump scares.
This is going to be a whole different
I
podcast.
think Laura's thing ended before it began.
But no, the thing with that one too. So, okay, they classify it as a comedy mystery. I do not classify it as a mystery. I only classify it as a comedy.
The whole game is about being a mystery.
The game when you're playing the board game is a mystery. How
Is
much
it-
comedy in there's
Well,
one great.
is
It's a whodunit. You don't know who did it until the end, thus
But
making
how
a
much
mystery.
comedy is in it?
Oh, there's a ton of comedy in it.
In the movie, yes. The board game, no.
Well, that depends on who's playing.
I love that dynamic because that's an important element when it comes to other genres.
If I was playing the game with you, it would be a comedy.
Okay, yeah, but look at the two of us together. Anything becomes a comedy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So,
So-
I-
So I'm going to break this down a little bit. So you're acknowledging that there's comedy elements of it.
Mhm.
You're acknowledging that there's mystery elements on it.
Somewhat.
So we got to look at the ideas like, is it more funny than it is mystery?
Oh, it's definitely funnier than it is mystery.
totally.
Yeah. So, and where does the video guy put it?
I would put it in comedy.
I would get 2 copies and put 1 in each. But that's just me.
That's not a thing.
And
But
that
anyway.
Well,
I mean, it's
I'm pretty sure I seen Laura's video store do that.
Well, that's unless they
No,
have like
okay.
a themed wall, that doesn't count. If
So-
there's a themed
no.
section.
He's talking about how we had some in horror or sci-fi or in comedy. That was not me.
That was Brad, wasn't it?
Oh, that was Brad. That was Dave. That was Roger. That was Di- I could have killed
So
everybody.
everybody else.
I kept putting them all back.
So I mean, we can totally acknowledge that it's got both elements in it for sure. Now, I
Can
think
someone that's seen it disagree
See,
with
I don't-
her to make
see-
this more interesting?
one could interpret the comedy as absurdist.
He is actually agreeing with or arguing with me.
Well, and in a
Mike
sense,
doesn't argue.
one could argue that the comedy could be perceived as an absurdist reality, in which in which the mystery element holds more weight. In that, now I agree with. I think it was far more funnier than it was mystery, and so I would agree with the comedy.
being the tie that binds. So
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but I'm thinking that from the perspective the idea that the interpretation of the absurdist nature of it, but it was far too funny for me to take it seriously.
Yeah.
So the mystery to me is diminished,
Very much.
which will tie into my discussion later.
But my theory on that is, again, the whole point of the movie is who done it, thus making it a mystery.
Yes.
I
But-
understand.
And my
So,
whole thing on
yeah.
that one is the movie itself is more of a comedy, whereas the board game is your actual mystery.
So are you're saying it's not a mystery, or you're saying it's
only
a comedy that contains a mystery?
No, it's just comedy.
There's no mystery at all in it.
I take the mystery element right out of it.
So then that becomes the argument. If you were to turn your funny bone off and you were to watch it, does the mystery element make sense in a plot point? You watch it and all the connections make sense. Like, yes, that totally could have happened, or that could have happened in that sense. Does that logically flow as a mystery? Because if it doesn't, your mystery is totally out the window. If it doesn't have a sense of connection.
A movie can be a mystery and still be a bad mystery.
Oh,
Like,
but
Well,
clearly-
yeah,
like
but-
if like whether or not it's a good mystery they're solving in that doesn't necessarily like wow any idiot
Well-
like is obvious
So the author or the director, which hold significant weight in a movie or a story, what was their intent? Obviously, there was a certain amount of humor. Now, the director has more control to add or subtract humor to a story.
I feel like you've seen the movie. I feel Tim Curry got to ad-lib a shit ton of that movie.
Probably.
Yeah.
I would not argue that.
I would honestly hope he did,
Yeah.
just because it's kind of like watching Evil Dead. Not the new ones.
Evil Dead's a movie interesting enough that you could be is that a horror, is that a thrill, or is that a comedy?
See,
right?
I would say the same thing. It was far too funny and ludicrous for me to be horrified.
Fun fact on Evil
So
Dead.
I would never call it a horror to me.
Fun fact on Evil Dead: it was supposed to be pure horror, but Bruce Campbell's acting made it a horror comedy.
Mhm.
So it's just, somebody's terrible acting,
Thus,
went with it and flow with
by
it.
that logic, a mystery is what it was trying to be, but Tim Curry's comedy made it funny.
Exactly.
But it's
Which
still
takes
a
out
mystery.
but for me, it takes out the whole mystery
So
element.
now what you're suggesting is why rather than is it. Is it a murder or is it a murder mystery or is it a comedy? Okay. Now
Yes.
you're suggesting the reason why. Now, which okay, so that's a different argument than to is it.
So if you were to turn off the volume on Clue,
Yeah.
and just watch the subtitles, what is it?
It's still a comedy, just
Even with just the subtitles in the
even
background?
with just the subtitles in the background because of Tim Curry. Just
Possibly, like-
There's a lot of visual comedy in there,
Yes.
Because
and the dialogue.
Taking what you said and adding a facet to it. If you were to read the movie as a novel, and work straight from screen to script, would it be a comedy or would it be a
You-
mystery?
Totally could make it what you want it to
Yes.
be. And that is the beauty of a text script.
But that's proving yet again that it's the actors or your mind that made it funny, not the movie. The movie was in itself essentially a mystery.
I'll define the movie then. Is the movie the written or is it the visual?
The movie's a visual.
So the movie
Yeah.
is the accumulation of a writer, a director, and actors, and filmography director, videography, cinematic, and
Yeah.
so then you're getting into really splitting hairs. So whatever it was, when it came to that screen,
It was no longer a mystery.
to me it was a comedy, and that comedy took away from the mystery. Although I understood the mystery and I still enjoyed it. It was a great film. Don't get me wrong. But the comedy took away from the seriousness of the mystery. So, therefore, it's a comedy to me.
And so with that one too, as you're going through it all, so yes, to begin with, you have the beginning of your mystery elements. Not even 5 minutes into it, it's comedy. After that, it's comedy. Even when they rewind basically, and it could have gone this way. It's a comedy.
I haven't seen it to make an
Singing
opinion on this, but
Telegram.
I feel like a comedy can still be a mystery.
It could be.
It could be.
Yeah.
And
But
is.
it
this
comes to
one-
balance.
But this one, it loses exactly.
Overwhelmingly. It kind of overwhelmed
It's
on
so
the one.
the comedy is so overwhelming that
To me, it is.
any mystery element in
That's
it,
like
it gets
saying Peter Sellers'
Well-
Pink Panther is not a mystery.
Well, again, I agree. That took away from it. The comedy element gave me much joy, but it took away a mystery element to a degree. right?
Yeah, I would consider Pink Panther a comedy. Like,
Yeah,
I wouldn't
with
even
mystery
I,
elements.
I wouldn't even consider that a mystery.
But he's
But he is solving a
he's
mystery.
solving a
He is.
mystery. Yeah.
Well, yeah,
I guess you are right about that.
So, is he funny or just funny looking?
And what?
It's the same thing. You know what I mean? It's what you're saying.
I think-
Because there's a mystery and it does not
I'm
make it
both.
mysterious.
I think what Corey was waiting for you to ask was, is it Selleck who's funny looking? Or is it
Well, I
Jack
didn't make
Jack?
eye contact because I didn't want anybody to feel like I was pointing them out.
Well, that's
Wow.
what that's that double take. I'm like,
nobody
wait,
likes
who are
the
we talking
mustache,
to?
eh? The
Well, I
work
love
thing.
the mustache
The
in
work
1989.
I'm not allowed to grow a beard anymore. Okay,
Oh, why not?
This is
It's
because
PPE and whatnot, isn't it?
Because it's pee-pee.
What?
Yes.
I sometimes go into biohazardous situations which I need.
Oh, PPE.
PPE.
No,
Okay.
Pete.
Yeah.
All I heard was pee-pee.
Oh, yeah, you got to wear the Scott packs or
Yeah.
whatever, that sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
my beard was much grander than yours about a month back, and then I had to go down.
I
to
love
the-
your beard,
Okay.
actually. So.
I miss my beard.
Yeah.
Just on the sake of this, I want to try if I can do it. It's the monologue of Wadsworth at the end.
Okay.
And
I already
as
want
soon
to
as
cut
I
him
screw
off
up
after
once,
he made fun of my mustache.
if I screw it up, we'll stop it. We'll stop wasting time. It all started like this.
Oh my
At
god!
first, there
Did
was
you make
thunder
fun
and
of me
lightning
looking
and
funny
barking
looking?
dogs. Ding dong, Colonel Mustard, come in. Ding dong, Mrs. White. Okay, it's been a while since I did it, but it goes on and on and on, and then we went to the kitchen, and the cook was dead.
Oh, the whole group?
I know, and that's what it was. It was just like, oh my god.
See, and that's where it really goes overboard. Is
He recaps the entire movie in a minute and a half.
and they're running
Times
all over
5,
the place.
because there's like 5 endings.
Yes.
Well, no, see that in the play it goes like that, and it comes around, and it was, and in the lounge, dead, da, da. And then we went to to the billiards room, which we found the maid dead. And then once we go through that, and that's how it all happened. And then it all ends up, and Mrs. White, I can tell you how it really happened. It happened like this. And then they go through the whole thing, and then it's like, no, it actually happened like this. And over here it goes, and then it all ends up being me.
Yeah,
I
you know,
did it.
like,
I'm not Wadsworth.
I'm totally
I
that movie, by
missed
the
a
way.
body, and it's just so there is a mysterious element and misdirection
Oh,
and all that
love
other
his
stuff,
direction.
which was really fun to have. And well, Jeff can't argue on it, but I think it's universally a fun and a good movie,
Yes.
regardless
I don't
of the
think anybody
argumentation
hates it,
of the genre.
You would be surprised at how many people hate that movie.
Yeah, but those people are not fun at parties.
I could argue that one too, but we'll do that one later.
Like, we're still looking for movies to do later on this month, so.
So
A future list. I'd love to do Lake Placid someday.
Oh, that's on the
Just for
list.
Betty White.
That's on the list.
Oh, that's star-studded. Bill Pullman, Oliver Platt, Betty White.
I can get a Placid.
The A-list, B-listers.
I don't even need to watch that movie again.
I haven't memorized word for word. The sarcasm is beautiful.
So, what are we deciding? What genre is this movie?
Comedy.
Comedy. I'll suck into comedy. I still say it's a mystery though, but it's comedy.
There's definitely mysterious elements within this comedy.
So, 2 mystery comedies and 1 gets played up comedy?
No, they agreed on comedy. We're good.
But you're saying there's no mystery,
I-
and they're saying there is.
I did not say there was no mystery. I
There's an
just said
attempt.
there is, but it's a comedy.
Primarily. Okay. So, I guess we're moving on to Mike now this time? Is that what we're agreeing on, guys?
That's what you just said.
But that was off the air.
Okay.
We gotta
Yeah,
create an
but you
illusion of
did-
mystery
Oh.
here.
But
You're letting them peek behind the curtain, Mike.
We need okay.
We spun the big wheel and it's your turn.
Okay. I can pick.
Look at this unprofessional guy not knowing how the acting works and behind the stage stuff. Jeez.
Mike, we need to
Listen,
talk outside of this.
Jeffrey, listen. Have another drink, Jeffrey. Okay.
Okay.
Back off.
So I'm actually going to do it. It's kind of based off a trend. I love the concept of the mixed genres and whatever. When it goes right, when it goes wrong.
Footsies.
What?
Ooh la la,
Okay, keep
Laura.
going. Keep going.
Keep going.
Okay, anyway, I'm choosing Guardians of the Galaxy. Guardians of the Galaxy is one of the few Marvel movies that I think really worked well and was really well done. My only issue ever with Guardians of the Galaxy is that it was connected to the Marvelverse, the whole MCU. And if they never connected it, it would have been even better. But because it was a separation from everything they did, that was a jarring, different tone.
I think
Of a
Endgame
movie.
would have been a hell of a lot different movie if Guardians of the Galaxy were not connected.
I don't care about the rest of Marvel, but I'm just saying, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, it was its own entity and didn't have to deal with that. I would have appreciated it more. But anyway,
It totally could have stood on its own.
absolutely,
It totally
100%.
could have been its own thing.
And
The MacGuffin ended up being the MacGuffin of the first 3 phases of
yeah,
Marvel's phases,
sure.
but
yeah, no, it's just like I don't want to get into the Marvel argument, but we'll talk about the genre splitting, and it's clearly it's a science fiction, comedy, action, and depending on the movie, rom-com. And that's
is that one a
the
rom-com?
first one. Gamora and him.
I have to argue the rom-com portion of that.
And I'll concede that fairly quickly, but I think there's an element of like
There's a love interest, which there isn't any action movie.
Not any action movie, but there is a lot.
it tends to be a staple. But,
It is definitely.
I am shoehorning that in a little bit, but that's just that's me being a dick.
Coincidentally, that was my least favorite part of Guardians 3, because Guardians 3 was a masterpiece to me, but the trying to reforce a love connection got annoying to me.
I really appreciated how they didn't get back together.
Yeah.
Like I really appreciate how they didn't like smash Star-Lord and Nebula together at the end of that
I'm
movie?
Yeah.
still confused on why Gamora actually exists in the new one because
That really
because
doesn't make
the whole
much sense.
timeline from everything would have collapsed between Captain America and Gamora. You fucked with the timeline too much, and everything would have collapsed and destroyed.
Well, and I think
itself.
that's what this. I haven't watched Loki yet, season 2, but apparently that's what this one's talking about.
Oh,
Well,
So,
Like, the way Marvel works is that you create a new branch. So she's on a new branch. It didn't exist. Like, that's...
because
so-
they couldn't undo Black Widow's death because they wouldn't have got stolen. But yet they undid Gamora's death.
Yes.
They should have just left... I agree with you. That's a big problem with it.
I'm not getting into it.
No,
that
we're talking
would-
about Guardians
Okay,
1.
so
We're talking about
let's get back to my genre of the Guardians. Definitively, it's comedy and it's action. Okay? I mean, whether it's sci-fi or whatever is irrelevant, but it's the comedy and the action thing that plays within itself. Now, to me, it dances to, like, the third one danced too far into the comedy. Like we discussed before, it was far too funny for the emotional elements,
But the first one
To take-
wasn't?
and it was too. It danced
First
really
one had a
fine.
dance off.
Now,
The first one's arguably the funniest of the bunch.
yeah, and that's the problematic version. Like, the second one, to me, is very forgettable. I don't really remember it in that well, but they always played with that comedy element, and when the comedy goes too far, that loses the other elements, especially if it's an emotional. The action there was pretty solid. You got the action in it. There was no disputing that. It was, and that sort of thing.
I mean, the second one, I do say it's very dramatic. Though, I Mary Poppins bitch is still the best
Y'all.
line in that movie. Or y'all, yeah.
That was the part. That arc I hated. I didn't like it. Subjectively, I did not like it.
But that was the best line in that whole movie.
It made
The rest of the
it
movie, it was very dramatic.
See, they to me they forced in this old time reference to this too much. Well, like what's his name? Footloose was a hero. It's like, oh, come on, stop being so forceful with it. But that's a
Did
different
you see-
argument.
Sorry, kind of off
yeah.
topic. Did you watch the
Christmas thing? Yeah, I did.
where they go and kidnap him?
See, I like that because the TV series are, to me, it's a separate entity, and it's just like, that was fun little one-off that's not really connected. But
You like the holiday special?
I did.
I'm not talking to you.
No, I found
I'm
it.
talking to you.
I found it enjoyable in the sense that it wasn't connected to the universe in my head, because TV series are not movies, animations are not movies, and they're all separate. A book is not a movie. They all separate themselves, and I enjoyed it, and I did find it funny and what it intended to be. It wanted to be comedy. It was not trying to be any super emotional whatever, right? Where the other ones,
They were trying to blur the line.
actually
too much.
drama. That's the one. Comedy, drama, and action is what they tried to dance with, and the drama gets lost within the comedy. The action's fine now. Like that's a physical nature.
See, but I agree with that.
You agree that you don't want an emotional connection as strong?
No, I agree that yes, there's dramatic elements, but it is so busy being overshadowed that nobody cares about the dramatic elements.
Oh, you're agreeing with me?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. You're brilliant. Thank you.
obviously. Not just good
Everyone else
No,
is
no,
an
no,
idiot,
no,
but
I-
Corey's brilliant right in this moment.
No, and that is how I look at it. Now, I still enjoyed the Guardians movies. Don't get me wrong.
Is your arguments for the first one specifically correct?
No, the third one too, because I didn't like the comedy elements. Because we had these great emotional elements that worked really well, but then Warlock
Warlock.
completely undermined any emotional value that I wanted to have with anything else. Now, because Raccoon had a separate connection with the otter and the rabbit and all those, that was a separate story that I got to feel that emotional value in. Warlock took a lot of that away because I carried that emotional weight, and then I laughed when I shouldn't be, and that's where I struggled.
Apparently, it's been a long time since I watched the second movie.
Well,
That's
That's the third one. We're on the third
Oh,
one.
I didn't even watch the third one.
Oh,
I hadn't watched
the
it.
third one was definitely drama comedy, and the first two were more comedy drama.
The drama
With action,
kind of
obviously.
amped up as they went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The second one's probably the least funny.
Yeah.
Of them.
I found that again, mommy issues.
Actually, it's daddy issues more in the Guardians series.
You
but
killed my mom.
no.
Yeah, that's
That's
what he
not
said.
wrong. There is an element
Yeah,
of
he
mommy issues.
But his
Yeah.
mom died of cancer.
But
Yeah, but he
blamed
put
mom.
in her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
I felt so bad when I had to put
I
that.
honestly
in.
have forgotten the second movie.
Yeah.
I have the
Oh,
first one and
I've
third
seen
Well,
one.
like
that.
they put that in there, and then he turns into a Pac-Man. Like I will understand why. Like okay, that moment right there is like you killed my mom, and then he does like the rock battle and turns into a Pac-Man. That does undermine that emotion. It really does, because that should have been like a really pivotal character moment, right?
But they were completely leading towards Quill having mommy issues.
Well, I think it's more daddy issues than mommy issues, but he does have
The
mommy
underlying theme is daddy issues, hence the Yondu and ego issues.
Yeah. Like
So-
the mommy issues was a
Okay, I get
catalyst
that
to
one.
lead into the daddy issues. So they're both elements. But
And
yeah,
really, when you
It-
think about it, Yondu was the hero because he didn't give.
He was the hero in the second movie. He was not in the first movie.
I didn't see
Well-
that in him at all. Ever
I-
did I find him any kind of a whatever? So I mean, he did the right thing at a
He,
moment.
he,
but it's,
he was a
it's-
begrudging father figure.
He was.
He was.
Yeah,
He was.
he
It was a
thrust
crappy
upon it.
father, and who hasn't had a crappy father?
I felt, in that. No, I love
But-
my dad. Fuck you. My dad. It's just like my dad, Terry Fox. Okay, just so you know.
Yeah,
Okay?
for those
Then-
who can't see, he put his dad above Terry.
Yeah,
Fox.
yeah, and then.
Oh, wait, there goes our listeners. They're gone.
No, but and that's the thing.
Dad, if you're listening, I love you. You're a terrific father as well. You're not above Terry
It's my
Fox, though,
stepdad's
Dad.
birthday today, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday to Corey's stepdad.
Happy birthday, Corey's dad. Yeah.
Guaranteed he will never listen to these.
Neither will mine.
Yeah.
Mine neither.
He's been passed away for 9 years, so
But it means he could
thanks
be.
for bringing that up.
That means
Yeah,
he
daddy
could be.
issues. See.
My mom's been 10 years older than you, so.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyway.
my dad because everybody else is saying how much they love their dad. Well, mine uses waste of skin.
You
You're
know,
not allowed to. You
whatever.
gotta keep that away from the
Anyway.
podcast.
Anyway.
I
Anyway.
mumbled it.
The biggest point I wanted to make tonight is that balance between these subgenres, because more and more we have to have them included in all movies, and when one overpowers the other, and the director is conscious or unconscious of it, or they intended it or they didn't intend to it. So that's where I find James Gunn a little less valuable for me as a director, because I don't know that he understands the balance between comedy and emotional drama. And that's just my subjective
So-
opinion.
Let's talk about Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark for half a second. Now, stay with me here, guys. I got a little puzzled looks here. It kind of invented this kind of subgenre. In my opinion, it invented the action comedy genre. Okay? Wait, do you have a further example of that? Or I should say it popularized it. If it didn't invent it, it popularized it.
Comedy and humor are also different. I thought Indiana Jones was incredibly well balanced in that world, and I know where you're going. But that was humor, not comedy.
Hmm. It
To me,
definitely
There
did.
were no punchlines, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Like comedy.
Yeah,
The slapstick
what about
is
when
all-
he goes for the gun?
Yeah.
That was a
That was
punchline.
wit. That was wit humor.
Is wit any different than having like a punchline humor?
Yeah, okay, so if I poke your eyes with my two fingers, shaped just like a V, and you put your finger, that is a very different type of humor. Exactly. Whoop, 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 whoop. That's a different humor or comedy value than the other. And that's where and that is the important value, is understanding comedy and humor.
The start the plane line. Now, what is that wit? When he's running from the natives, that's visual humor there.
That's
It's-
panic. Start the plane! Start the plane! I'm being
Who
chased by
didn't
whatever.
laugh their ass off the first time they seen that Indiana Jones has a parade? Now, I'm not going to argue.
I laughed harder during Pirates of the Caribbean. The exact same thing.
Well, yeah, they did the same thing in Pirates of the Caribbean.
I thought the snake was funnier than the start the
Oh
plane.
yeah, I guess.
Yeah. And again, that's not a punchline comedy. That's almost like we can all empathize. It's just like, humor can be. We can all relate to that. And that's funny. So,
But that's why we've gone so far this way, because that movie was a massive success. Ghostbusters was another science fiction comedy.
that
It was a massive.
pure comedy.
That one, yes.
That was absolutely comedy.
So you guys don't
Not
think there's
humor.
any horror or any?
I do not
No,
think
no.
there's any.
I didn't
horror
have
action
any
in it?
horror until they showed the cab driver,
Yes,
and he was a rotting corpse of a face.
that was.
I'm
about-
like, oh my god,
That was
The-
that
about
did
dog-
not fit this movie.
The Stone Dogs were pretty.
They were kind of, and
They
it
were- they
didn't
were on the
help that
horror
the
line.
special effects were so bad with those
Right.
things, so that probably didn't help the
You know,
situation.
But
Maybe
even
back
then,
then, but
like,
yeah.
even if you're going through all of that one, and again, it takes it to the screenwriting, the actors, and how it's portrayed. Ghost Riders is definitely more comedy. It's got an action element,
Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
but Ghostbusters
Yeah, we know
was-
what you meant.
Yeah.
But
So-
how can you take it seriously when you can't cross the streams?
I-
It's just like
I didn't want to get I didn't want to get on a major tangent on those
Yeah,
movies,
no.
but I'm just saying
You're making a good point.
that's why that has become popular, and it still is popular because that works.
Well,
People want a small laugh in their movies, in their action, right? They
See,
don't
yes.
want everything
that
to be
is
too heavy.
nuance. That is the thing. There's a lot of movies don't balance it well. The humor has to come from a it's like if Batman is dropping one-liners with a punchline, it takes an element away from that character. But the Flash can do that, for an example. So
Because that's what the character and the
exact. That's how the character was built upon. Now Ghostbusters, again, they're all goofy, loony, whatever. So it's built.
And we're
upon
supposed
that.
to believe they're university students.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Now
they're
you take-
students.
And that's a great
Professors.
argument. And I love the fact you brought up Indiana Jones, because that is real wit humor. Never does Indiana Jones become a slapstick. Never does he fall into the Three Stooges thing. He is cool.
It's pretty slapsticky when the propeller hits the one guy's head, but I guess
And
that's
the
not
blood,
Indiana.
Yeah, that was hilarious when the blood sprayed over the screen. Oh, I busted a gun at that. That was grotesque.
But Mike's right in this scenario, because if you're looking at the way everything's progressed, you've got comedy and then you've got slapstick humor. It's like comparing English humor to American
And then
humor.
there's-
So
There's
is
so many
your
versions.
argument here for Guardians that it's slapstick humor?
It goes a little bit too far to comedy, like a dance off with for example, a dance off with a god kind of thing. I
Bad
don't
guy
know,
regardless.
but he was so powerful beyond most anything we've seen in that world. He was godlike, and we're gonna win by a dance off. That's schlocky. There's a fancy word for you. Schlocky comedy is
So
what it is. So
that one particular scene, little over the top.
yeah.
I loved it at
That's
the
why I
time
still-
when I watched it, and now I kind of like.
it was funny at the
eh.
opening scene when he's in the cave and he's dancing
Yeah.
off and he's
Yeah.
kicking
And
the
you're like, oh
creatures.
yeah, he's a bit of an idiot.
See,
Yeah.
and I love that character.
And then
that
in
was a fun
Endgame when you
movie.
hear it without the music and you see him just dancing.
And he dances, and that's what I loved about the movie, that it was a fun element, and he's dancing with it. He's goofy, but then they start dancing. How far did they take that humor? And for me, the dance off at the end was too far. I still enjoyed the movie. I still liked the movie,
At
but
least
that
they
was too much.
at least they established that was the character. Like that, they kind of established that's
Yes,
who he was.
There was an intent of the storytelling to go that route,
Mhm.
which I respect, because that's what he wanted to do. That's why, as a standalone trilogy, it would be much better for me, because he doesn't belong in the same universe as Captain America, in my opinion. And that's where this mixing of genre becomes a balance.
So that to the point now, where are you sticking it in the video store?
Action.
Okay.
So I thought your argument was that it's comedy.
No, I'm saying it danced on the line with comedy. The comedy and action elements were so closely in that. And for me, it's not that I want to say it was wrong to do anything. I just want to make it recognizable that those elements can be improperly imbalanced. And I just want that.
It would be not. There's no such thing as a perfect trilogy, but it would be borderline perfect if they dialed back that comedy one notch or two, eh?
No,
Or
it
would
would have been. It would have been perfect if it wasn't connected to the MCU.
Mhm.
And I don't.
Even
I
with
don't
the
like the
humor
word
in it?
perfect, but what's that?
Even with the humor in it.
Yes, because it becomes its own self. When you're connected with an MCU, now you have rules set up by other movies, and they pushed beyond what I felt the Captain America movie fits, and that's the thing. So to me, if it was self-contained, it would have got 2 or 3 more points on my scale of what it is.
I think that's kind of the point of the MCU at this point, though, to like be that genre hopping, like the Disney Plus stuff specifically. Werewolf by Night, Moon Knight,
Knight,
She-Hulk, and Loki are 4 different genres.
That's a different argument that we don't want to get into tonight.
Well, this is true, but
because that is a completely different argument.
that's an entire podcast on its own.
But the peripheral there is that how far in one genre can you connect one to a different? Could you have a trilogy that one is like a slapstick Keystone Cop, Three Stooges, jump into a witty, humorous Lethal Weapon, and then go into some dramatic Silence of the Lambs, and have them all connected cohesively? Can you do that? I say no.
The Cornetto trilogy, I want to argue, like, borderlines that, but
What's
that's
that?
you don't know what the Cornetto trilogy is? That's Edgar Wright, but no. Now that I'm thinking more of
the
it,
Simon Pegg stuff.
yeah, the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost stuff.
Yeah,
The
they
more-
didn't
the
dance
more I
far
th-
enough over
they-
that. I know what
They
you're saying.
didn't get dramatic enough in any of those, did they? Like they.
Yeah, and that I thought that is one of the closest to the perfect trilogy. Now I could argue John Wick, the first 3 were the perfect trilogy because they didn't go beyond what they wanted.
I would
I'm
have
not
a hard
saying it's
time
good.
saying John Wick's a perfect trilogy, but
But the 3 movies did not break what they intended, what they wanted to be. And in that sense, I thought they were better than 95% of any other trilogy ever existed.
the first one is amazing.
Yes.
So
And then-
you're heading down a road where we're not talking about quality. We're talking about genre.
Okay.
I'll cut you off here because you and I think we got a lot of love in film to share with, but there's going to be some very volatile moments.
If you're a movie fan, you're passionate. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Hey,
way
I
or the
agree.
other.
Neither one of us are shying away from that, are we? I don't
Well,
feel.
no, I just don't want to waste. I want to live in the podcast we're living in.
So
I want to show up for the next one.
we're getting an action from Mike.
I would rate it as a action comedy.
Yeah,
But we're not subgenring. We're primary
okay.
genring.
yeah.
Then
I kind of subgenre.
I got a gun to
Jurassic
your
Park.
head. Where are you putting it in the video store?
That's I'm sick
Okay.
of that.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we're
so if I'm at work and I'm putting it away, it's going in comedy.
really.
Interesting.
Then I understand that.
Like you said, how Marvel has literally jumped from one tip of the genre to the bottom tip of the other genre. I could say every single Marvel movie could fit into different genres at different points. I would put every MCU movie in action.
So, yeah, and
Am I-
Except for maybe She-Hulk.
I haven't made this argument, but like, I feel like it's a science fiction movie primarily. Is it not?
It is, but okay. Little.
I would probably put it in the action.
So
It's action comedy for me, but like, is it not basically a science fiction movie?
it is, but now I'm not sure how they did it at Blockbuster, but I can tell you at both movie
Well,
gallery.
Blockbuster's
and,
owned by Disney, so they're fucked anyway.
right, but at both like at movie.
You're a rock star.
right? But
Hey
at,
now.
at movie gallery and the video store, there was no such thing as a sci-fi section.
Exactly.
So, well, but we've
There
established
is-
that's one of our.
there
You
is
either
a
put it in
genre.
horror or action when you got a sci-fi movie.
Yes.
Okay, I have to tell this story. We moved to Weyburn in '92. We didn't know anybody. We set the record for most video rentals or whatever. But we went to the video store and we said, "Where's this movie?" I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Where's your sections? Oh, we don't put them in sections. We find we can rent out other movies that don't get rented enough if every movie is random.
Yep.
That is freaking
That's
awful.
amazing. That's
Terrible.
So the only reason
My
at the
OCD
video,
would go nuts.
the only
But-
reason at the video store that we had a kids section, a TV section, and a horror section was because I bitched.
you needed a kid section.
Except for the kids section.
And a porn
automatic-
section.
Okay, we were actually not allowed to have one in the store that we were at.
Oh, which store was that?
For the video store, we were
Wh-
not.
Oh, the video? Okay, yeah.
I,
They
I,
died out.
I think
They all
that's
died out.
I think that's better. You guys didn't have a porn section. In my
It
opinion.
was actually in our contract that we were not allowed to have one.
Yeah.
That's not a bad thing.
And no, you know how many kids I had to ban from movie going for that? Damn.
Okay, so we got an action, comedy, action, and science fiction because I like to be different.
Yes. Your turn, Corey.
That was painful.
Wow.
Um,
Wow.
Hey, that was really painful. So it's your turn.
So I literally spent. We had been talking about this we had talked about this for weeks, but then last week when we realized it was becoming a reality this week, that I had the perfect movie, and I was so excited, and I was going to pick From Dusk Till Dawn, which, if you've seen the movie, knows that it completely jumps the shark for genre. Like, it goes from Western / drama / action straight into horror, which, whatever. That's fine because the point of the movie was to genre jump. So while we were discussing today all of our things, I'm like, you know what? When the point was to genre jump, there's no point arguing the genre. So listening to Jeff and his weird logic, that I realized the best movie isn't so much a movie as it was kind of a series / just a genre in itself, but zombie movies like Return of the Living Dead. I'm not gonna say Night of the Living Dead.
I'm going to stop you right there. You can't just do a general.
Well,
genre,
We had to pick
Corey.
a movie.
You have to pick a movie.
I'll say then fine. I'll use Return of the Living Dead.
Which
so-
one?
But okay, I
There
have
was
to
two
argue,
Return of the Living Dead, was
but
there not?
there was, but I have to argue in Corey's defense on this one because zombies themselves is not a genre;
No,
it's a theme.
right.
Yeah. that's what I
So
was gonna
the
say.
point I'm getting at.
Okay, sorry. The theme of zombies. You can't. It's like, let's do a theme of robots.
You can't. When did you become the rule maker? Are you the god of us all? You my
Yeah,
dad?
I'm the God cast.
Godcast.
Godcast.
I love
Godcast.
that. You need to trademark that shit. Anyways, the point I'm getting at is everybody, when they think zombie movies, they think horror.
Yep.
Yep.
But zombies, on the general, were created in a lab. So would they not be science fiction?
In from a certain point of view.
Depending on the movie.
Yeah,
The
wait,
comedy, too.
COVID. The argument with COVID, right? I'm not going to go into this. We're going to end it at that. But if it was created in a lab or what, because that's a whole other conversation. If it was created in a lab, it is no longer horror. It is science fiction. Thus, why Jurassic Park is not horror. It is science fiction. I do not find zombie movies horror.
I thought you
Yes,
guys-
they eat flesh and this, that, the other. I consider zombie movies science fiction, not horror.
But okay,
Ooh.
now I need to argue with you on that one, Corey, because depending on the zombie movie, depends on it.
He said Return of the Living Dead.
Nah, but then we've gone into all zombie movies again. Because depending on the zombie movie, depends on if it's a comedy
Well,
or
I mean, I'm not-
Or a rom-com.
or a rom com.
Warm Bodies.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, so I don't remember that.
I'm not playing that. That's not the game I'm playing. I'm going with the flat out zombie movie, not the
Okay.
Zombielands, not the Warm Bodies, not the ones that tried to genre jump on purpose. I'm talking about the classic run of the mill zombie movie, like Return of the Living Dead. They're created in a lab, or created by a biohazard, or created by eating a bat in Wuhan.
Or some supernatural thing.
So let's just stop on the disease aspect of it. Let's just say now the disease thing, is that science fiction in your mind?
Yes, because again, plausible reality.
Okay, so that's what would make it science fiction?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no mystery about it to make
There's
that.
no supernatural in it to make it a horror.
Hmm.
To redefine that argument, the minute we know it was created in a lab, the minute it becomes science fiction. But again, we didn't know the Force was anything until we found out midichlorians. So it no longer is. It's now become science fiction. You know,
Okay.
in that
Well, like
sense.
the opening scene of the original Night of the Living Dead starts out one of the best movies of all time of that genre. Either way, it starts out with her visiting. I think it's her mom or her dad at a gravesite, and she's with her husband, and they see someone in the background, kind of dragging themselves along, and she's like, "What's wrong with that man?" And don't know, and so the husband starts making fun of her, and that's where the line "They're coming to get you, Barbara" comes from, because he's taunting her, saying, "Oh, it's coming to get you." Turns out it really, really, really was. So that you didn't know that was you're right, that was horrific. But again, they were created in a lab 9.999 times out of 10, and thus making, in my opinion, zombie movie science fiction.
So to simplify this argument, you're saying, was it Night of the Walking Dead or
Night of the Living Dead's the original.
Night of the Living Dead is a science fiction movie from your perspective.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, well, the thing with Night's a little tricky because they don't get into the disease much of it. They just flat out made a zombie movie.
Yeah.
That's why I picked Return instead of Night.
Oh, okay.
Because once it became...
Because you don't know in Night whether or not it could have been a mystical element that did that.
It could have been, yeah. Like I said, they just wanted to scare the crap out of you with creatures, which I don't even think they were dubbed zombies at this point yet, because that movie's like 1963, so...
I want to say Body Snatchers is when they first say zombies.
Probably, and that was like 77,
No,
I
not-
think, so...
Well, I was going to say, what movie is it? Because I know that's a thing. Like, hey, that's why I don't like cats.
Luckily, they don't like you back.
They're all assholes.
Anyway,
I just think that a science fiction can be defined as a horror, as with my previous argument. So I find a hard time believing that, like, it's interesting your science fiction argument about it, because you know what? No one's ever thought about it that way, really. Well, I shouldn't say nobody, but like, it's not something you would conventionally think of, right? You would conventionally think of the zombie as a horror thing because
they eat flesh.
Yeah, they eat flesh. It's a scary thing that's
And
chasing after you. That's
and most
nigh
movies
unstoppable.
And most movies don't give you the science element to this. It's just they're doing their thing, and then oh my god, zombies.
But like even Zombieland, you take the probably the best comedy zombie movie. Or
Simon
or
Peggs.
Shaun of the
Yeah,
Dead.
Shaun of the Dead is the best
Back and forth.
zombie comedy movie. There's no.
I love Zombie.
I will concede
I like
either
zombie-
argument because they were both fantastic.
Yeah.
But what's it called? Going back to what we said, and I mean, I'm kind of jumping to the conclusion. I don't mean to, but if we kind of agree now that sci-fi is now officially a section in the video store, is Return of the Living Dead going to be found in science fiction or horror?
I'd put it in sci-fi.
You-
Based on that, I would
The only
I-
reason I wouldn't put it in sci-fi is because I think the layman will look for it in horror. And I don't even know how I feel about sci-fi. It is a sci-fi if I force myself to think about it. Yeah, you're right.
You
But I'll
shouldn't.
still go to the horror section.
You shouldn't have to force yourself to think about
Yeah,
it that way. I
agree.
guess.
It should be your first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So,
horror.
like, when you think about it that way, and you're not thinking
Yeah.
of it the way that you're putting it, then I would still keep it in the horror section. I'd probably move it after watching it if it had the scientific element to it.
It's a very interesting argument. I really like this, Corey. It's not something someone would ever think about, right? Like, it's just.
And like I said, when the genre first was introduced in, like I said, 63 or wherever the hell it was, and we all know I'm never right one of these, so just take the date with a grain of salt.
We'll just say you're right this time.
Let's
Where
not.
nobody's going to fact check.
Why would salt make a difference to information?
Or
Because-
What does that mean? What does that
I don't
mean?
know. I'm a victim of what I hear. But yeah, so
Okay, I'm gonna take it with salt. So if you're wrong, you're okay because I have salt.
So therefore,
Yeah,
Corey
and
is
that
very
takes-
influential.
takes the bitterness out.
Yeah, that's right.
It's
I like that.
That'd be sugar.
But yeah, like
Well,
I
I don't know. It was all like a
Take that
okay.
with a teaspoon of honey.
I can almost concede to the fact that you could put one zombie movie in horror and one zombie movie in sci-fi and be right.
Yeah.
Like Night of the Living Dead, again, I would say you're right, is more horror because there's no background to it. Zombieland, it says it started out with one person doing this, which caused this and caused the outbreak. That I would put as science fiction.
Zombieland, I would argue you with that one.
And you put it in comedy,
I
wouldn't
would
you?
put it in comedy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
I mean, it's freaking hilarious. Don't get me wrong, but
man,
But
I
again,
hate doing this to you,
you're it's
Corey.
like, what's that?
that is not. Oh, Return. No, I was saying the original one was 1963.
Oh, you were saying the original. Oh, I think you were saying Return. Sorry.
No, sorry.
No, to
I kind of movie jumped a lot there.
Yeah,
so that didn't help. So
and just to reiterate, Laura, you said zombies are a theme.
Mm-hmm.
So you could make a zombie movie, like you say, anything you want.
Yes.
So I can't argue much further because I don't remember the movie and what you're referencing. But I think there's a slipping into zombies this, zombies that. Zombies are whatever we want them to be as a writer, as a creator. So we know that the comedy element in Zombieland and Shaun of the Dead is very different from that of Return of the Living Dead or Night of the Living Dead or whatever, Z-World, whatever that one is.
I never did watch that one.
I watched it, I enjoyed it. It was fun.
Corey, do you mind if I, instead of Return of the Living Dead, you mind if we use Walking Dead as your example?
The TV series?
The TV series.
I, in all fairness, never watched it, so you
Oh.
can take the lead if you want.
Okay,
And
well,
I
no,
will-
well, I thought it would fit very well with what you were saying.
Yeah,
and
and it
I
could.
think
So
I thought everyone would be more
Resident
familiar with it.
Evil.
I would disagree.
Resident Evil
because
is
that's an
100%
emotional
science
drama.
fiction.
Well, it is an
Walking
emotion.
Dead is a
Okay,
drama
really
more
quick.
than
But
anything
that
else.
gives you your element on the zombies there
yeah.
before all the creatures. Resident Evil is 100% science fiction.
Okay,
Yes.
well, let's use Resident Evil because that'll be more top of mind.
That's a closer fit to what
Yeah,
I think he's
you're
saying.
right. I
You
was-
see
it was the
lab,
T
you see-
virus.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you see the lab, you see the virus, you see how they develop
But
it.
remember what I said was a horror. What is a horror? In me, according to me.
It has
Supernatural.
Supernatural.
Is it what-
Is there anything supernatural about a zombie movie, regardless the subgenre?
if that's what you define, no.
No.
Lightly, if that's what you see a horror has to have, then I agree
It-
with that comment.
So
It's hard not to feel like some of the creatures in, if we're using Resident Evil because it's a little bit more top of mind, some of them feel very supernatural in there. Like-
Some are, but they're mutation because of the virus,
Yeah.
which makes it sci-fi. Whereas a bunch of the other zombie movies, they can be classified as horror because they do not have that element of, okay, this is how they
well, and
were
that's why I
created.
say like Night of the Living Dead could be a horror.
Yeah.
Whereas like
Because
Dawn
you-
of the Dead, for example, let's jump to another movie. Dawn of the Dead is 120% sci-fi.
Yes.
Huh.
And
Is Dawn of the Dead not one kind of more actiony, or am I confusing?
Well, no, that's the one that was written by Gunn and
Zack Snyder made, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I am thinking of that one. That one's
I
pretty
don't remember
action.
it. Gunn? James Gunn?
James Gunn wrote it. Snyder directed it.
Whoa, Mike,
That's
Mike,
cool.
just settle down, Mike.
Bro,
James Gunn and Zack Snyder, we're gonna
No,
go.
James Gunn belongs in an element, in a lane somewhere, for sure.
I mean, he
But-
did Slither.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
But, but just based on how you're trying to describe it, I agree. Resident Evil would be the best one to use in that.
Okay, so again, as a guy who's never watched Walking Dead, not even 5 seconds of an episode, what caused the zombies?
I don't-
It was a lab. It was a
They
lab.
actually say it's a virus.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a virus.
So,
I thought they never actually.
They
Did
say
Sad.
in the first,
Oh, did they?
In the first episode, that's
Yeah.
that he
I remember they went to the lab and they were looking for answers, and then they guys never found answers.
It was so. Well, that element was so insignificant because it's
Yeah.
a drama.
But it was
It's a weekly
like,
It is a weekly drama.
weekly drama.
Was a
they-
weekly
they
drama.
bring up the lab, but like when the first episode, when he first wakes up, there's that newspaper article and the constantly running report. of
Actually,
the virus.
the
or
better.
whatever.
It's a soap opera.
Yeah,
That is the best singular description of that show. It's a soap opera.
I
We
think
got so many arcs
by
going
his
in.
definition, it would be a science fiction.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, if it was born in a lab, it was science fiction. And then the argument for everything is argument for Marvel, like you said, or you had said. There's argument for X-Men is a huge one. X-Men mutation in the comic world is completely science fiction.
Yes.
But they were supposed to. What was
Because
that?
they
What?
explain it.
Yeah.
And that's a defining
Plausible
factor.
reality. That is
Yeah, plausible.
that is now, and I credit you for that. That is how I'm defining science fiction. Plausible reality.
New Mutants was supposed to be a horror movie, but I don't think anybody ever actually seen it.
Did
I
it
did.
come
It's a
out?
movie
I
called
did. It did.
Mutants.
It did come out.
Yes.
I remember getting the
So,
poster at the theater, and then they pushed it, so we just had the
Oh,
poster sitting
they
there
just kept
front
pushing it and pushing it and pushing
Yeah.
it.
Mark and I went to see it, and it was billed as a horror movie.
Who was in it?
Nobody mentionable.
No mutants? I don't know.
There was some young star that was. Oh, what's that?
They're in a hospital. They apparently have powers. And one summons a giant bear. That's all that matters.
The girl from the Queen's Gambit.
Oh, from Split? Not
Wait.
Split.
Yes, the one girl from Split was in it. Though.
Yeah, Split.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was that the girl
Freaking love
from
those
Split?
movies.
I thought that was a different.
I love the Queen's Gambit. That was a great drama series. I really got into it. I couldn't not watch it, and that's anyway. Sorry.
That she was in New Mutants, but totally different
Her,
tangents.
yeah.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that girl. She was Princess Peach, if anybody knows.
Anya Joy Taylor?
But that one,
Man, should I have gone to Mario movie first?
Never watched Queen's Gambit. And I think Anya Joy Taylor is a robot, but that's beside the point.
She's
Is
she's
that
a
the
very
one from Queen's Gambit?
Yeah, I guess so.
but even then, like New Mutants, if you think about that one was they built it as a horror movie. It was pure sci-fi and very boring sci-fi at that.
I don't remember the whole movie. It was very forgettable, but I guess remember that was supposed to be it.
It was supposed to be. It had elements, but it was.
That was just
sci-fi.
because you were talking about mutants. And
Yeah.
I was like,
That said,
Never mind.
Anya, if you're listening to this, just take off the mask. We know you're not real. Have you ever seen her? Seriously. Like her and Stephen Harper could model for androids everywhere.
she's
Stephen Harper?
Like the old Prime Minister, Stephen
Oh
Harper.
yeah. He was dead inside for sure. Yeah.
Well, his skin looked fake. His hair looked fake.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I think you got to be a little dead inside for that job. Like if you're like lively inside, like that job is gonna soul suck you.
But look at how much money he was making. Like same with her, she obviously makes a ton. He could have just gone and had it stretched.
Yeah, I liked the performances she's given me, like Queen's Gambit to some of these other stuff. I felt there was some good diversity in her character. So I mean, her eyes, obviously they're making her famous. They're a little further separated apart, and they have that angular, but there's a beauty, a quality to it that stands out. And
okay, fine. She's not a robot. She's an alien.
you know what?
You've been upgraded. E.T.
If they made a new
Cole.
Men in Black and they had that screen with all those people, she would be on it.
Yeah, like it's
She's
she's
like
got that
Michael
look.
Jackson now.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, he was an agent because he wouldn't play it.
Agent M.
Yeah, because he wouldn't play an alien. She's like Elvis.
So are we going with Resident Evil?
Yes.
Is that?
Well, we'll pick that as the movie of choice, and I will stick with it. It is a sci-fi.
Sure, I agree with that. I felt like that element overpowered the horror aspect.
Resident Evil, it is hard not to have it in the science fiction genre. It's an action horror, but like it's definitely
It's not
This-
an action horror though. It is a sci-fi. horror.
and sci-fi is a derivative of action. So
Yeah.
So, again, original question. What section are we putting it in the video store?
Sci-fi.
Sci-fi.
oh god,
Gun to your head.
because I don't think it's a horror. And
Guess
a
where we
lot of
had it in
action.
Blockbuster?
You had it in the
That's
horror
where
section.
We had
Yeah.
it at the video
Ah.
store too because everybody kept putting
You know,
it there.
it would have to be a sci-fi. You're right. It's now Return of the Living Dead might be a slightly different story, but Resident Evil itself, if that's the example we're using,
Yeah,
that's a
I think-
sci-fi.
Now I don't remember the Return of the Dead, Living Dead, or whatever very well. I've watched it, but I would put that in horror in comparison.
It's pretty forgettable, but the only reason I picked that first is because, again, the first one never touched on the sci-fi of it all. And so the first one, I would argue, is a horror movie. But after that first movie, it completely went into sci-fi. Even though it had flesh-tearing, eating creatures, I still considered it sci-fi.
We really got to start watching these movies before we put them in these discussions.
Well, I didn't know you were going with that. Mind you, it was a drop of the thing. And I had another thought. Oh, I should have done that movie instead. We could have done the Batman, and we could have really gone through that because that had a great diversity.
You're not going to make us watch a 3-hour movie, are you?
No, the Batman.
Dude, we're gonna watch. That is a 3-hour movie.
Is it with Pattinson?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It felt like it was like an hour and a half.
So
It was
is this
it was
right?
so
I think it was
good.
like 10, but
I've not seen it yet, just because I'm just like,
I've only
where
watched
am I
it
going to have 3 hours
once
of my
and
life?
I fell asleep, so I didn't catch. I don't even know what happened.
So is this where I tell you that I bought it because I wanted to watch it, and then I didn't watch it because my husband watched it and said it was boring?
Is it on Blu-ray?
Yes.
It's a slow
You
burn
gave it
for
to
sure,
me.
but I loved it because it was a
Borrow it.
different.
No.
It was a different take on
You can
Batman.
only borrow it.
Well, then I don't want to borrow it. I can just watch it on my thing. Anyways, all right. So, Jeff, we can't really final thoughts.
We can't
this one,
final
we?
thoughts
Yeah.
this at all. No,
Yeah.
and no final thoughts on this.
All right. Well, this has been fun.
Does
thank
anyone
you,
else have a
everybody.
catchphrase?
Mine's it. We all know that. Just
Besides,
I-
is his Scottish accent the catchphrase? That's not a catchphrase.
That's yeah.
Yeah.
Talking, Jeffrey. Jeffrey, is that the accent you call the Scottish accent? It's like a drunk
I
Jeffrey.
was gonna say the drunk Jimmy.
He's drunk. Bring me another martini, Jeffrey.
I still
Damn
think
it.
Arthur when I hear that. But anyways,
It's an English drunkenness thing.
yeah.
You know,
A drunken Englishman and Scottish person are like
I
the
I
same.
wouldn't
oh,
count
they'll,
that
they'll,
one.
they'll beat you on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, they
It's like
will.
saying an English is an Australian. Ooh. I did that mistake.
Don't
once.
don't call a Newfie Nova Scotia or Cape Breton.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll take you apart.
No, they're newfies. It's just newfies.
Not all three of them.
No,
No, that's what I mean. Like if you're from Cape Breton Island,
you're, like,
somebody
no,
calls you a Newfie, you're in trouble.
You're only a newfie if you're from Newfoundland.
That's right.
Or Labrador.
No.
No,
Not even?
No.
no, they'll draw issues of that too.
Oh, I figured out how to do the final thoughts. I figured it out. Okay, Corey, final thoughts on the genres? Like which ones are?
What?
Never mind. I didn't have it figured out. I thought I had it figured out.
I'll just stick with mine.
Okay, Laura. Okay, Corey.
I'm gonna go last. I actually have a couple things to say. So
Okay,
Okay.
Mike.
Well, I have a couple things to say too, but just like
How about I go now? Hey,
yeah,
goodbye,
yeah.
guys. Keep your stick on the ice. Okay, there we go. There we go.
no, genres are a beautiful, wonderful tool to be used in storytelling, and I think
I'm a beautiful, wonderful tool.
what's that?
Nothing.
Guess the
And I
tool
think the use of it,
1 for 3 at best.
the use and the misuse of it can equally imbalance or balance a movie, and I think having subgenres and everything else, I think we should focus less on what is the movie categorized and more about is it a good movie and did I like it?
I like that final thought.
There we go. I just wanted to say, for those following the Instagram page and Facebook page, if you had a chance today, you got to see Jeff's first written review for The Marvels, and I really enjoyed it. I look forward to hearing more from him. Honestly, I want people listening, send me a Facebook message or an Instagram DM and send me your reviews. I will publish each and every single one of them, barring they're not derogatory towards a person. The actor, whatever, but I'm talking like specific person. Mike,
Wait, actors aren't real people?
no, they're not.
How do you feel about this, Mike?
About what?
Actors not being real people.
Well, they're,
You know several actors.
Actors
no,
are
that-
a character, a category above
the actor or the character. They're two separate things. You can slam and make fun of the character all day long. The actor, that's a craft and a trade, and they may take it personally because maybe they put their heart and soul into the character. So they're two different parts of an entity.
Excellent. Going after the actor. Got it. Okay. I'm kind of a jerk. I admit it.
And we
Yeah.
love you for it.
Exactly. That's what I do. So yeah, everybody, give us a follow. Spread the word. We're getting a lot more listeners now, but I think we can do more. And I refuse to pay for advertising. So yeah, let's spread the word. Let's have fun out there.
So not only is he an asshole, but he's a cheap asshole.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm a goddamn dick. Okay.
Well, check out Infinite Imagination on Facebook because we'll share all of real life opinions as well on there. I'll continue sharing that.
Oh, I meant to give. I meant to talk about Dracula Rides Again forever ago. We're out of time here, though, guys. So, but excellent production, by the way, Mike. I thought Dracula.
Thank you.
You guys just did your show. What show do you have next out? No more railway dessert shows?
No, we're this. We did Dracula Rise Again up in Edgerton to help raise money for their library, and we had a great show up there. We are now moving out to the Battle River Rail Murder Mystery Santa's Workshop Christmas Party, and that's to help keep the train running between Kelsey and Forestburg, and they several times a year they have different excursions. You can rent private things on that, and that's our next big thing.
That's the Friends of Battle River, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. A lot of fun out there, and they got a great facilities, and that sort of thing.
I did the Halloween ride with them. It was really good, actually. Yeah.
And we're out.
All right. Have a good one, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Is that it?